And what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Celluloid Psychosis. I am your host, TJ Bowser, and joining me, as always, is the very handsome, very British, the king of Salisbury himself, Mr. Paul Ashford. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I'm good. How about yourself?
Man, I'm really, really good. Excited to
Yeah.
talk about
Oh,
today's
yeah.
film. But,
hmm
of course, let's get into the slice of life. How was your week?
It's been good. It's been good, man. It's the same old for me, man. I've watched a load of films. What have I watched? I've just finished The Editor, which you recommended for me to watch. I'd never seen it before, and I really, really enjoyed it. I've watched. Oh my goodness, I've watched so much with the girlfriends. Loads of 80s horror again. Um, Man, you've just blown my mind. I can't remember what I watched. But other than that, I've been going out. We've been doing bits and bobs. Work has been all right. Going out drinking a bit with some friends in Salisbury. But yeah, man, I've been having a good time. Really super excited to talk about today's film because it is easily a big favorite of mine, and it's on a subject that is very, very close to my heart. But yeah, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to hear about your week because it's always very exciting.
Well, I finished up this commercial ad spot that I've been working on for about a week and a half. It got approved for streaming and everything this week. Super exciting. So I can't wait to be able to sit at home and watch it on the TV play. It's going to be really, really cool. It was a really cool experience directing a commercial. And normally I'm the guy running the camera and stuff. And it was awesome getting all my talent together and kind of making a big production out of it all. But yeah, really cool week. It's been doing a lot of blog posts and website maintenance. We have a job fair coming up, and I was kind of getting up some of the marketing materials for that. Doing a lot of prep work for Paul and I's secret project that we've been doing. We'll talk more about that as it progresses, but it's definitely in the realm of stuff that we talk here. It's a big project. It's probably going to take us over a year just because of the sheer size and the amount of stuff we have to consume. I'll say that. But yeah, about this week's film. So we saw the trailer for this film. It got us super, super excited. We didn't know what to expect other than it's going to have little rubber monsters. And anytime Paul hears that, I hear that, we get excited. So this week's film is Frankie Freako. And I'll tell you what, is it a breath of fresh air in an era of film that has completely lost its way? I absolutely dig this. Paul, this is your pick. You were like,
Oh yeah.
Can I please just put in Frankie Freako as their next pick? We need to talk about this because I think this film kind of affected us both on the same wavelength. We both were like, fuck, we needed this. And we totally needed this. It hits on all the right levels. Paul, what do you think, man?
Man, I absolutely love this film. Absolutely love it to death. Do you want me to read out the plot? Let's go for a plot, shall we? So, workaholic yuppie Connor Sweeney's life spirals into chaos after he accidentally summons Frankie Freako, a mischievous rock and roll goblin, through a party hotline. Alongside two other troublesome creatures, Dottie and Boink, Frankie wreaks havoc in Connor's home. Connor must vanquish the tiny terrors and restore order before his wife returns from her trip.
So yeah, and that's to put some of it. There's just so much that happens in this.
Yeah,
and the greatest thing, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like an hour 26. It's perfect.
Yep. Yeah, man. The trailer, not even the trailers give away much for this one. We watched that first trailer and we're like, okay, it looks cool, looks a bit Ghoulies, it's Robin Monsters, looks a bit Garbage Pail Kids. But it seems like I've been waiting so long for this film to come out as well. From the first time we saw the trailer. But man, this film just blew me away. I mean, talk about my
expectations exceeded.
Yeah, so my expectations were quite high, to be fair, because I was like, this has got practical monsters in it, so I was like, this has got to be good. This is like exactly my jam. So I had very high expectations, and yeah, they were definitely exceeded. Initial impressions, honestly, it kind of starts off a little bit slow. I don't know if you agree.
Well, it kind of puts you in this really strange world.
Yeah.
That way you can kind of prepare for the coming absurdity.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the best way to put it? It kind of puts you in this like Tim and Eric type world where
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of over. I don't know how you want to say it. It's very strange.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he does it. The director does it on purpose
Mhm.
because it starts off. I mean, to be fair, okay. So Connor is the main guy, and he is like a bland, boring yuppie. Well, workaholic, as the plot says. So
He's a
he's very
square.
bland. He's a square, yeah. And you see him in his home. He's got a pretty basic home. His office. You see him in his office. It's very much like The Office, the TV show. It's
Mhm.
boring. It's got the dividers. You know, it's real boring. He's a square. Even his boss is telling him his
His
presentation.
boss is hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Overacting. They all overact,
Oh yeah.
and it's in a very uncanny way. That's the word
Yeah,
I was
it's
looking for.
strange. It's strange. Like that's what I mean. The start of this film, you're like, what is going on here? If you didn't know that, if you didn't know this is a Little Monster movie, you'd be watching the start of this thinking, what am I watching? Because it starts off so strange. The acting is strange, like you said, overacted. It's done
It's
very
very
blandly.
freaky.
Yeah. But he's boring. He's super boring. His presentations are boring. Even his boss thinks he's boring. The funny thing is, his boss won't tell him to his face, will he?
Yeah.
He tells him everything fine. Then he literally walks over and then throws a bit of paper at him, like scrunch up a bit of paper, saying, "Spice up your presentation." And he goes home to his wife, and even she hints that he's boring. And then, and the weird thing is, this whole weird, boring, bizarre setup. Then he goes home to his wife, and then suddenly the tone changes to like, I would say, some late 80s, early 90s softcore.
Oh yes.
Where it shows his wife getting ready in the bedroom, putting on lingerie, tights, and stuff.
I'd even say it's less than softcore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't. You know, there's no nudity. There's no nudity.
There's
But
not
it's
even like any like. There's the implication of sexuality,
yeah.
but whenever it goes to deliver that, it is. Should we
Gone.
even spoil that, or just let people like go into that and just experience that for themselves?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He does it. He does it in a complete style. It's like watching like well, actually, I watched an interview with the director Steve Kostansky,
Yes.
and he said that he based it on animal instincts. So he wanted this world to be very different from the world you see later in the film, which we'll talk about. So yeah, it sets up this kind of almost, you think it's going to be a softcore sex scene like Animal Instincts, like oh my god, I can't remember any other films like the Wild Orchid movies of like the late 80s, early 90s. And then sure enough, bland old Connor, they kind of lay down a bed and he kind of cuddles her and that's it, done. You know, kind of bringing up the whole. And she's very disappointed, and then she hints that he is a bit bland and boring. And then, yeah, you can tell there's kind of trouble in their relationship. She's finding him a bit bland and boring, but she does love him, she says. And yeah, she's going away.
We see the Frankie thing on TV while after that.
Right? Yeah, so he stays up, doesn't he? She goes to bed frustrated, and then he stays up late to watch his favorite TV show, which is like an Antiques Roadshow knockoff, like a real bland and boring show.
Boy, that's worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And he's like led in bed up until the early hours watching that. Again, just showcasing how bland and boring this guy is. But then sure enough, this TV ad comes on for like a party hotline.
Oh, it's so good.
Proper 80s style. And this is when we first get introduced, or you get first glimpses of Frankie Freako.
Yeah.
You just see like his face and stuff talking into a phone. And Connor doesn't think too much of it, does he? At first, so he's like, "Oh, you know, what the heck's this?" kind of thing. And then the next morning, his wife goes away on a trip, and then he's saying goodbye to her. And he sees like a flash of Frankie, doesn't he, in her face? She get a little taste of it. And then he goes to work.
The presentation,
gives the presentation, which is going to be bland. But then suddenly, one of the guys he's presenting to, he sees Frankie's face in
his face kind of like warbles.
Yeah, warbles, and it kind of turns into Frankie Freako. He starts freaking out,
screaming at the top of his lungs.
Yeah.
And everybody's just like in the room's like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Yep. And then it cuts to the him sat back in his office chair, and his boss walks over, and he's like, "Oh my god, you know, completely let you down. I'm so sorry." And the boss is like, completely changes his tone. Then he goes, "No, you nailed it. That was the best presentation in the history of this company," and blah blah Yeah, so they're
And
kind of
he's being extra nice. You can't forget about this. He's being extra nice because he wants Connor to come in after hours to
that's
shred
right.
documents
Yeah.
before they come. The higher ups come for an audit. So he's
Hmm.
kind of like this higher up, Mr. Buchler, is
Beekler.
Beekler,
Beekler. Yeah.
yeah, named after John Carl.
Oh yeah.
He is setting up Connor to get in trouble or take the rap to
Hmm.
shred these documents on camera. So
Yeah.
whenever the higher ups come down for the audit, they're like, that's where all the creative accounting, I think he calls it,
Hmm.
uh, happens. So I love that whole subplot because it lends
Yeah.
into a really funny moment later with glue.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it kind of goes from there, doesn't it? Then he's at home, and he finally plucks up the courage to ring the hotline, didn't he, himself?
Because he's
And
there on by himself for the weekend. See,
that's
his
right. Yeah, his
wife
wife's
is an
out of town.
artist, and she has
Hmm.
sculptures all around the house, and she's going to New York, I think, to try to
Hmm.
sell her exhibit. So
Yeah.
he's staying at home, and he's gonna have the crazy weekend that squares don't have. He's gonna order pizza with cheese on half of
Yeah.
it, and what's on the other half? More cheese.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just so showcasing how incredibly bland he is.
Yes, and he's like watching the antique show again.
Hmm.
And because but when he goes, actually before he goes to order the cheese pizza, he's actually looking through the magazine, and there's an ad for Frankie Freako
That's right.
in the
Yeah.
magazine, and then you
Hmm.
kind of like it cuts to him watching TV, so it kind of like infers no, he completely ignored that. He ordered the pizza instead, and then he sees the ad again.
Yep. Yep. And it goes from there. He rings up the number, and sure enough, we get Frankie Freako on the phone
Well,
to him, or a voice on the phone
yes,
to him. Yeah, it's a voice, like real crackly tone, isn't it? And
and then he kind of like passes out, right?
yeah, if he's just like he's gone to sleep. But then the film completely changes after this because he wakes up, doesn't he?
Yeah, kind of like
Uh,
an homage to The Hangover, as
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
clearly
yeah,
something's happened, and he's kind of waking up, and then the realization of what happened last night is.
yeah, exactly that. Very much like The Hangover. He literally walks into the living room, and there's like graffiti and smashed stuff everywhere. Yeah, very much Hangover. That's good thing actually. The Hangover, yeah, very similar to that. And then he goes in the kitchen, and there's Frankie Freako is there with like a ghetto blaster, isn't he?
Yes.
Playing music, and he's just
Hey,
like there vibing.
man.
Yeah, yeah. And you see the other two. There's two other Freakos as well
Yes,
on the counter.
Dottie, the 6-shooter knockoff, and then
Yeah,
what's the other one?
Boink
Oh,
Bardo.
yeah, he's like Jody's like shabadoo.
Yeah, he's like almost like a bit cyborgy, and he's got like a
Yes.
bit metal plate on his head, a
He
bit like a
almost
cyborg.
looks like that one Cenobite in Hellraiser 3 with the
Oh yeah, the CD.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But he's a lot
yeah,
cooler than that. All he says is
yeah.
shabadoo.
And a
And
couple of
Dottie's like
variations on Shabby.
this horny 6-shooter character.
Yeah, yeah, female. You never see her face. She's always got
Uh,
like the bandana across her
but
face,
she's like
like Six Shooter
whistling at
does.
dudes and stuff,
Yeah,
shooting her guns off.
she
Oh yeah.
quotes like "Howdy, partner." And
Yes.
she's like she quotes John Wayne and stuff like that all through the
And
film.
that's like one of the most blatant inspirations from the Puppet Master series is Dottie here. You can tell
Oh
that
yeah,
Steve
Six
really
Shooter.
loves 6-shooter. Yeah.
But there's that, but also the well, I don't want to spoil the ending, but
The Ghoulies Goes to College is just throughout this
yeah,
entire film, and the
yeah,
ending just reinforces that even more. If you
yeah,
know how
yeah,
Ghoulies Goes to College ends, this film's just like, hey, you know what my favorite ending of a movie is with Little Rubber Monsters? I'm gonna do
yeah.
that.
Absolutely. So there, the film completely goes into full on Little Rubber Monster territory, but like you said, it is very much Ghoulies Go to College
Because
territory.
there's a lot of
It's
that
like,
mayhem and a lot of that partying thing that goes on,
oh
and
yeah,
there's that dynamic where they're not really pranking, but they're essentially trying to get Connor to remove his squareness per se,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
trying to
yeah.
get him to break out of that bubble and have fun. And through that, you see this
It must be
metamorphosis
freaky.
of the character, and it's really really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool, and it is like a mega homage to Ghoulies Go to College. So you got the Freakos, you got the three main Freakos.
Mhm.
Really, really good puppet effects, like really good
Oh,
puppet effects.
so
They look
good.
amazing. They're all dressed up in like party gear, very much like Ghoulies Go to College again. When it just Ghoulies.
Oh, and we didn't mention the fake out death. So there's a really funny scene.
I was going to mention that, yeah, because it's brutal. It's brutal. Yeah, it's actually, yeah. So before it goes into partying mode, obviously Connor's not getting. He's like disgusted by the Freakos or the freaks. Yeah, they are the Freakos. And they're trying to make him party. They keep turning the music on. He's like, no, turn it off. And what is it that it's Boink, isn't it? Boink. Yeah. He does he shoot him? No, Dottie shoots here, but Boink does something to him. Oh, he smashes
the statue.
He shoots a catapult and smashes his wife's statue.
Yes.
And that sends Connor into like a rage. And he like chases Boink around the room, eventually catches him, and he just punches him continuously in the face. like there's like giant rubber puppet.
Shabadoo!
Yeah. And he's like, just keeps punching him. And Frankie's like got his mouth open, like in shock. And he just doesn't stop, does he? He just keeps doing it. He keeps doing it.
And then he's like, let's go.
You see a bit of blood. Yeah, you see a bit of blood. He's on the floor and he's like, punch, punch, punch. Yeah, I think he actually goes, Shabba, don't. Yes, and then he's just led there and they're like, Frankie's like, boink, boink. And then Boink just stops breathing. And then he realizes he's actually killed him. So it's like a real brutal start to seeing the Freakos. He's like, oh my God, straight away he's killed one of them off. Mm-hmm. And then Dottie's really upset as well, and like they cover him up with like a blanket, thinking he's dead. And then that sends Connor into like a real guilt trip, saying how sorry he is, and like he's how sorry he is. And suddenly like you see like the blanket over Boink.
Do the like, Michael Myers thing, yeah,
like fluffed a bit, and then suddenly it like raises up and like a big fart comes out. Mm-hmm. And you all realise that he's just joking all along. So these Freakos, they're pretty tough because he gets continuously punched in the face. That was quite out of character as well for Connor.
So how do we get when he starts partying with the Freakos and starts to unwind, he kind of misses going to the office to shred the documents. So his boss calls him. And it's like, are you chickening out on me? And I think that's whenever his boss shows up, right?
Yeah, so he says, I need you in the office now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he tells him, I know he goes to the office, doesn't he? And then tells him about what's back at his house. So he does go to the office and then tells Mr. Beekler. And then Mr. Beekler comes back to his house. He goes, he's like really creepy anyway, Mr. Beekler, in a funny way.
Oh, to help him.
I want to help my employee. I want to help my employees. I want to come and see what your problem is. And then he walks in. He's like, so you've got 3 Freakos here, and one of them's like a cute girl. And he's like, oh, I didn't say that. And he's like, and when he first sees Dottie, he's like, oh, hey there. It's like he fancies Dottie, bizarrely, than Mr. Beekler. Mr. Beekler comes back to the house, and chaos ensues again, doesn't it? So this is like they do. This is really they do prank or yank Mr. Beekler because they've got the trap on the floor, like the what do you call it? The animal
It's not
trap.
a yank; it's a goddamn bear trap. And
bear trap. That's it.
He puts his legs in it, snaps his fucking ankle. He lays on the ground, and who pours the glue on him? Is it Frankie?
It's Frankie. He shoots. Oh no, six shooter. Sorry, Dottie shoots with a gun, and there's like a giant. For some reason, best known only to this movie, there's like a giant barrel,
like an Acme level. Thing of
glue. She shoots a hole in it, and it obviously starts glooping out glue right on top of Mr. Beekler, who's led down on the floor with a bear trap around his foot, so he can't move, and it completely covers him in glue. Again, to me, I found that like a bit like a Goose Go to College throwback again, because Goose Go to College has the goofy glue that he shoots in his gun, and that's how they create the final monster from Goose Go to College, when they shoot them all with gloofy glue, don't they? The ghoulies, and like they're all and they form together. I did see an interview saying someone thought that was a homage to Who Framed Roger Rabbit with the what's it called? The Acme, the dip, similar to that sort of thing. So it's a weird scene, and then for the rest of the movie, most of the movie. Oh no, there is the rest of the movie. He spends his whole time glued to the floor,
Yeah.
which is just a real
Even
funny
at the
joke.
end.
Yeah, even at the
Hi.
very end. Yeah. So every time you see him in the movie, he's just glued flat to the floor, covered in this yellow gunk or yellow glue.
But it
Looks
kind
like
of
yellow
at
gunk.
that point, the Freakos go from kind of like being a nuisance to kind of helping him, and that's where the things
Yeah,
change because then we are introduced to this Freako lore where we find out about
yeah,
Munch and him being the evil Freako who kind of
yeah.
was jealous of all the other Freakos and took over Freako world. So then
Hmm.
Munch shows up via telephone because while they're partying, Connor answers the phone on accident. Frankie didn't
Yeah.
tell him all that stuff. Don't answer
Hmm.
the phone, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Munch comes through with what's his foot soldiers called?
The Freako Killers.
Yes, the Freako Killer.
And that I was going to mention. You mentioned Puppet Master.
Mhm.
They look just like the come on, what's the
Torch.
guy? Yeah, yeah, they're similar to Torch, but I was also thinking of the other one that shoots the discs. It might not be Puppet Master. It might be one of the other little doll movies from Full Moon.
Demonic toys.
So I think it might be Demonic Toys. Yeah, the little robot that shoots the
Yeah.
discs. So it's a cross between that and Torch. Very similar looking to that.
They shoot
Uh,
lasers too.
yeah, they do. Yeah, they shoot lasers. No, they don't. Yeah, they shoot lasers. They don't shoot discs. It's the one that
They're like
from the Full
chopping
Moon
mall
movie.
lasers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, almost a bit Killbots as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we now get introduced to the Freako Killers who arrive in his apartment, and there's some really cool effects in there when there's like electrifying and stuff. And yeah, introduce the Freako Killers.
We
And
didn't mention what happens when you expose Frankie to a cross.
oh yeah, because that's quite important to the ending in this movie.
It is
as
very
well.
important.
Yeah.
So flashback, rewind.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, we're here now. Okay, we're back at where Frankie is still kind of getting to know Connor and all that stuff.
Mhm.
They're still not getting along. Connor does how does the crucifix come to be?
It's the is it the two spanners he's got?
I can't remember. Somehow he
Yeah, yeah.
introduces this crucifix, and Frankie turns
Oh,
into
it's an
like,
actual. I think it's the real crucifix, isn't it? He gets out of his drawer.
oh yes, he has.
Because he's a
Is it in the
square.
box?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah.
real crucifix, not just like a
So
made
he
up one.
shows
Yeah.
it to him, and Frankie turns into like this super demon and
Mhm.
blows this massive fireball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
His face like
Frankie's
changes,
powers.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of like his big power
Mhm.
is he freaks the fuck out. And yeah, like Satan's rage or some shit.
Yeah, yeah.
That will be important for later.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, so we get to the scene. We're talking about the Freako Killers arriving on the scene. And they have to transport now to Freako World, don't they?
Yes, and it's like this weird mix of miniatures and live
Yeah.
action stuff and
Mhm.
stop. Is there
So-
stop motion in there?
Yeah.
It's like a
I
mixture.
think there
Yeah,
is, yeah.
because the
Yeah,
cart.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
cart going through.
The cart is like that, yeah. So yeah, the Freako Killers capture them all, and they
It
transport
felt a
them.
lot like when you first go into Toon World and Space Jam, or when you
Yeah.
do it in, like we mentioned before, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
has that
kind of
very
thing.
similar feel.
Yeah. There's another film that just crossed my mind, and I've forgotten what it was now. That also does that. Mr. Bones, is it, with Brendan Fraser? Monkey Bone.
Monkey
Have you ever
Bones.
seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So they're transported into Freako World, I think they call it. Yeah, and it introduces a minecart scene as well, which is where the stop motion comes into effect. So they're going through this crazy world, kind of akin to. It reminded me bizarrely of the world from Repo, the Genetic Opera. I don't know if you've ever seen
Well,
that.
it's almost what's the word? Tech noir almost.
Yeah, very tech noir. Yeah, kind of Arkham, the city of Arkham from like Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah,
like
kinda that.
skyscrapers, dark. There's like creatures around.
Or maybe it's like older Hollywood noir because like that's what
Yeah,
Munch is kind of like. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's very dark, and you get this crazy scene where they're flying on, not flying. They're on a minecart. It's like a big minecart chase, and you get to see them shooting through Freako World, and you get to see they're using a bit of stop motion and miniatures going on. It looks really cool. And then they arrive, don't they? Dottie is taken away by the Freako Killers, and then they get to meet Munch. So the back, I forgot to mention the backstory. They do mention because they see it on a TV screen, don't they? Like the Frankie and they're telling him about what happened to the Freakos, and they do this little thing on the TV screen where it kind of pictures what happened. And again, that's another homage. I think that was a homage to Troll, because the artwork they use on the screen is very much like the artwork you see in Troll when she's going through the story of Chirok and what happened to him, etc. So it's really cool. And then, we get to see Munch, who is now President Munch. And that guy was...
I like how he calls Connor on the phone right in front of him, does the creepy voice, and turns around.
Yeah.
Unnecessary. And not to mention, he's brought Connor here only because he wants to make him a sex slave because he thinks he's sexy.
Yeah. Completely bizarre. He keeps calling him like funny names as well, doesn't he? Like, hey, my little handsome whatever and stuff. And it's like, makes him even creepier as the main bad guy. But I thought he was the spitting image of the Garbage Pail Kid, the one with all the spots and stuff on his face. I've forgotten. Is it Winston?
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. I can't remember, Winston or something like that. But yeah. Again, which would be yet another homage to John Buechler and his movies. Obviously, you've already said the boss in this film is called Mr. Buechler, which is obviously based around John Buechler himself. And then we see President Munch. They take away Dottie, and then we get introduced to this crazy machine that he's got, which I forget the name of the machine.
Well, his butler's pretty fucking funny too.
Yeah, the butler's amazing. His name is Crunch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crunch. And the effects on that guy was amazing. So again, he's another rubber monster, but he's kind of human form.
Like when he has the hair and his...
really nice guy as well. He does whatever Munch tells him, and he introduces this big machine which figures out how freaky you are.
Yes.
And if you're too freaky, it messes you up. So he makes Munch his butler use it. He like waddles onto the screen, doesn't want to do it, and then he puts his hands on it. It's a bit like those things you see at the arcade where you put your hands on it and it lights up. A bit like the old electrocuting chair things you used to get at arcades. And sure enough, it goes red because Munch is a freak, and then it kind of pulverizes him, and you think he's dead, but he's not. It just completely melts his face.
Does Frankie call him Crispy?
Yes. His tongue's hanging out down there. It turns him into almost like a zombie, a melting zombie, a bit like the final guy from RoboCop when he goes in the toxic waste.
Yeah, but
in like a rubber monster form. And then Munch is like, okay, you can take the rest of the day off now. Yeah. So I thought it was really funny. And then obviously Frankie gets the idea for Connor to use the machine because he knows how square Connor is.
Yes.
So sure enough, up steps Connor, being called a sexy something as well by Munch. And he puts his hands on the machine, does it, and it comes out completely green, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because he's like super
and he
square.
Stops. He's like, yeah.
And this leads to the film where I forgot how they distract from that scene. They distract Munch somehow, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they shoot. Oh, that's right. That's when the crucifix comes out.
Yep.
So Munch is shocked, and I think it's Boink that makes a crucifix from 2 bits of metal, from like 2 spanners or something. It's the bit I was trying to think about. Holds up the crucifix to Frankie. Frankie goes into super demon mode, shoots the fireball straight through President Munch, and kind of melts him on the screen, doesn't he? Blows him away. You think that's the end of the film, but it's not.
They go back.
We got this. Oh, we got the bit of Dottie as well. So Dottie's been taken away, and she comes back, doesn't she? But she's been her brain's been taken over by the evil guys, and she turns into like an evil shooter, and she's like trying to shoot him, and they're trying to make her come back and stuff. But you think the film's all over, and like you said, we get yet another Ghoulies Go to College homage where Munch returns as like a giant
super munch,
super monster, super munch, and that effect looks amazing. It's obviously a guy
very reminiscent of the Dean from Ghoulies Go to College.
Yeah, very very reminiscent of that, and it's obviously a guy in a giant rubber suit, and it looks super cool.
So good.
Kind of reminds me of something like out of the video game Doom.
Yeah,
the sort of thing you see walking around you shoot, that sort of real presence. It looks really cool. We get a showdown with Connor and him. And Connor, what does Connor do? He shoots him in the head, doesn't he? They have a fight or something, and Connor ends up shooting him in the head and blowing his brain out. And then he's like mocking him, thinking that he's killed him, but he hasn't at all. He comes back, he's still alive with no brain. and they get the final showdown where like all of the Freakos join in to take him down. And yeah, then they win ultimately, and they go back to. Do they go back to the real world, Earth?
We're already in the real world. We're in
Freaky world.
We're in living world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of the movie.
No, his wife comes back. His wife comes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they do go. They go back to the real world. Obviously, the house is still trashed.
So his wife's on the way back, and then he's like, "Hey, the house is a mess. Can you help me clean it up?" And the Freakos are like, "Yeah, I got you, man. You helped us, we'll help you." So
and you get like classic 80s. You get the classic 80s. What do you call it?
Montage.
Yeah, clean up montage when but they clean up. I mean, like the big painting of him and his wife on the wall.
They just kind of make it like a really shitty painting. Yeah,
they just like a shitty drawing. And on the wall there was like they'd spray painted butt.
Yeah,
and they change it to butter, to make it stuff like that, stupid stuff like that. Obviously, his wife walks in, and she's like, "What the hell?" And then you get this funny scene where she walks in.
He's no selling. He's like, "What are you talking about? Everything's the same." He's like, "I just had a square weekend. Nothing crazy happened."
Yeah, and he's like, "Nothing crazy happened." And he freezes, doesn't he? Like his.
And then right when he does that, fucking Dottie bursts through the fucking wall, Kool-Aid Man style, and she's like, "Oh, Dottie!" But his wife's like that, and Connor's like, "What the fuck?" It's like, "Yo, yeah, I went to gun college with Dottie."
Yeah. And you get this whole thing where his wife was in it all along.
That is something we didn't even mention. The wife's weird fetish with guns. Because they mentioned they have a gun cabinet and it has to be locked up when she leaves. There's photos around the house with her and a gun. Like
when he gets the photo of his wife at the wallet to look at, is her with a gun as well.
Yep.
So they're just going for pure zaniness. But I just love that scene when he's like trying to say nothing's wrong and he just like holds his hands up, a bit like Goose Go to College at the end. We're like, oh, that's everything. And even funnier, when he pauses like that, the song plays, which I haven't mentioned yet, which we should mention. There's a song called, and this is called "What Is This, a Party?" And it is a
so good too.
Is it a knockoff? It's a reimagining,
an homage.
Yeah, homage reimagining of the song from Goose Go to College, which, funnily enough, has never had a release. So, for anyone that's seen Goose Go to College, you know the song that plays at the end and through the film. It's like the party song. This song. The first time I heard it in this movie, I was like, whoa, this film gets me, kind of thing, because everyone knows how solid that song is, and that song is Goose Go to College. And this song comes up through the film, and it's on that scene when you think the movie's going to end just like that, just like Goose Go to College ends. They play the song, oh, well, we've got the pranking crown at this party, and it ends. But this doesn't. He kind of drops his feet and is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Then you get like the twist that she was in on all along,
and this kind of like such a breath of fresh air, especially with the ending thing, because then it's like, oh, we had the idea of Frankie coming in to help you, and then also like she knew that they would destroy her art, so that they would have to put it back together. So then the exhibit that she's actually showing off is the destroyed art put back together.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And that's kind of it, isn't it? It's like that's the end of the film.
The movie goes out of its ways to tie up any loose ends that you might have had in a very absurd movie.
Yeah, and then right at the very end, like you said, it cuts back to Mr. Beekler still stuck
on the floor,
still glued to the floor, and he's like, "Guys, don't forget." And that's the bit the film ends.
Credits, party song,
party songs in the credits again. But also through the credits.
Oh no! It ends with a Christmas thing.
Oh yeah, bizarre again. Just another knockoff, weird, bizarre. Not even knockoff. Just another weird ending. It turns into a Christmas movie at the end.
Which I would like to think that's going to be the next movie, is a Frankie Freako Christmas.
Yeah, I'll watch that.
And then of course the third one is Frankie Freako Takes Freak World.
There's no hint through the film it is set at Christmas, is there?
No, it's just at the very end you see some Christmas stuff, and then you see the postcard.
Yeah, because what do they? Yeah, that's so bizarre. It kind of turns into like a Christmas movie, and then they're all partying together with his wife as well, and then it like flashes, and like they've got like I said, Christmas postcard for all of them in the postcard.
I really hope that's like the next
I
one.
want that postcard. Yeah, and then the next thing, the credits roll, and it's a like a metal version of a
Yeah.
Christmas song, isn't it? Like the
Yes.
all tight is it?
That's why. Yeah, it's a whole fuck. The whole ending is all
And it's
Christmas.
got Frankie going, "Oh yeah," and then it's like, yeah, I want that soundtrack. I definitely want the "What Is This a Party" song on CD, man. That'd be so
Yes.
cool.
So what is it? Terror Vision? You hear us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Give us a
Well,
vinyl and a
yeah,
cassette.
yeah,
Make it
definitely,
happen.
definitely. But saying that, the Raven Banner Blu-ray, which is on its way to me, taking its time,
Scream
that comes
Factory, you mean?
Raven. If you're Canadian or English and you want it imported to the UK
Mhm.
easily, I'd go, yeah, Raven Banner. But the Raven Banner release comes with a CD soundtrack.
Oh.
So I don't know if it's going to have that song in it. So it says it's the score. And we forgot to mention the score was by they're a Canadian like synthwave group they did Psycho Gorman as well.
Oh,
I've
yeah, we didn't
completely
even
forgotten the
talk
name.
about that. So this
No,
Steven Kostansky guy,
Kostansky. Yeah.
he did a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah. He is like
What's the group he's part of?
Astron 6.
Yes, they did
Yeah, yeah.
Void, Psycho
Void,
Gorman, stuff
Psycho
like that.
Gorman. Yeah, the editor,
Mhm.
Manborg. Steven Kostansky even did a Leprechaun movie. He did Leprechaun
Origins?
Returns, I think it
Oh,
might have been one of the Leprechaun
one of
movies.
those later ones.
More recent ones, yeah.
Non-Warwick Davis.
And yeah. But he's a super cool guy, man. I've watched several interviews of him now. And he professes his love for Ghoulies Go to College.
We need to get
You
him
know,
on the show, Paul. We
yeah,
need to
that is
talk to
his.
him.
He says that's his favorite little monster movie. Ghoulies Go to College, and it's very obvious in this movie.
Mhm.
And I can't believe we're here in 2024 watching a film that is a homage to Ghoulies Go to College. It's like
It's
what is going on?
wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and he mentions he seems like a super cool guy, and he talks a bit about how Frankie Freako came about. He said it was a script he did quite a long time ago. He's a massive Little Red Monster movie, Little Monster fan. He's seen every Little Monster movie going,
Mhm.
good ones, bad ones. But he says Goose Go College is his favorite. He watched a lot of them during lockdown, I think, as well. Rewatched a lot of his friends, and that's how they came up with this. But he's actually working at the moment on a Deathstalker movie.
Yes.
And this Frankie Freako came about because the Deathstalker movie is taking quite a long time. They're like a break in filming, or they're waiting to get funds or whatever. So this kind of got the go ahead in between making the Deathstalker movie. So if you look on Steven Kostansky's Instagram, there's a few little shorts of, I guess it's like creature tests for Deathstalker, and it looks amazing. So
Yeah.
Super Munch in this movie. It's kind of those sort of creatures, but you imagine that in like a sword and sorcery film. I think it's going to be
High
amazing.
expectations for
It should.
Kostansky's next film.
Yeah, to me, this could be like the Deathstalker movie we should have had.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see Deathstalker, Deathstalker 2, all those movies from the 80s. They've got like this amazing artwork on the cover with like creatures like that, but you never see them in the film.
Yeah.
I guess because the budgets were never there, or not even the budget. It's more like the creative was never there.
Something that this film proves more than anything is that you don't have to have a 3-hour movie or even a 2-hour movie to make a decent story.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Short and sweet sometimes is
Short
better.
and sweet, yeah. And I'm guessing they had a minuscule budget as well.
Can't tell.
No, I'd imagine it was a very small budget for this movie, and you definitely can't tell the effects. You know, this is definitely not.
It's so
Like a full
tight.
moon.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like everybody
Mhm.
knew what their job or assignment was and went there and did it to the best of their ability. Everything is just done so well that
Mhm.
and like everybody understood the tone and like the vibe they were going for to a fucking T. And I
Yeah.
think that translates so well on screen so that
Mhm.
whenever you're watching it as a viewer, it allows you to get fully immersed in a very silly and absurd world. So
Yeah.
whenever something happens to these characters that are very not realistic at all, you actually feel for them.
Oh,
And
yeah, you care for them,
it's
yeah.
as silly as that sounds, you feel for these characters in this hour and 20 minutes that you get to know them.
Yeah.
And it translates to just a really, really well, like really good experience overall.
Yeah.
and I think that that's going to be reflected in our scores, which I think we should talk about now.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this a perfect film? Is this a 5 out of 5 for both of
It's
us?
for me, easily for me, it's a 5 out of 5. I'm a
Yeah.
little Rubber Monster fan, and it doesn't get any better than this. To be fair, this is a complete homage to those films, especially Goes to Go to College, but all Little Red Monster movies. So, yeah, I mean, if there's one thing, Charles Band needs to tap up this guy. Imagine if Stephen Kostansky got hold of some licenses from Full Moon. Can you imagine like a Puppet Master, a new Demonic Toys with this guy directing? That would be incredible.
Or grow this franchise. Fuck that. No,
Oh yeah,
more Frankie Freako. A very Frankie Christmas. Fucking
yeah.
let's see fucking Freak World. Let's see like Munch come back as like a robot.
A
Like
very Frankie Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
A very freaky Frankie Christmas. Yeah, I like it.
Cool as hell, man. There's just so
Yeah.
many situations you could put Frankie in, and it'd be fun as hell.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so for me, this film just blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. I more than recommend this to anyone, especially if you're a fan of anything 80s, anything Little Rough Monsters. I've read a lot of reviews online. Well, there's quite several people are saying, "Oh, it's not as good as Psycho Gorman."
People aren't understanding the vibe, man.
No, not
That's
at
the
all.
problem. I know I've seen
Mhm.
some other critics who are like, "This is the greatest thing ever,"
Yeah.
and it's because they're getting it, man. And I
Mhm.
think the same thing is like whenever I saw the TV Glow. You either get it or you don't. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I had to watch that film twice to get
Yeah.
it. The first time I was like, if I'd reviewed
This
it
film
after the
was
first
different.
time,
I watched this film and I was like, "Holy fuck! Where the
yeah,
hell has this type of film been? Like, why
yeah,
have we not gotten this? Like, we're so used to these 3-hour epics and this big
hmm
budget, and then we get something amazing like this, and you're just
hmm
like, wow, I want more of that. Give me 6
exactly that.
more."
I just remembered another Ghoulies Go to College homage as well. The drink in this film that Frankie drinks, that
Art classic.
fart classic, and there's the bit where he opens his fridge and it's completely full, top to
Yes.
tail of fart classic. It's a Ghoulies Go to College homage where it's full of beer, and again that's how they escape as well at the end, isn't it? When in their minecart,
Yeah, fart classic.
they put fart classic in the fuel tank of the minecart
And
to
I
shoot
love that
away.
they're small cans and not full size. They're like the mini Pepsi cans.
Yeah, yeah,
So whenever Connor holds them, they look, but his hands are like massive and they're like
yeah,
little cans. And they make the loudest fart noise when you open them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the greatest thing ever.
I saw someone on Twitter actually got one of those cans. They went to a screening of this movie. I think
Yeah.
it was Fantastic Fest in the US, and they got. I was like, I'll be
I
all
don't
over
think
that
they were
kind of stuff.
sized right, though. The cans weren't sized to be
Okay,
Freako size. And I think that's
right.
what somebody needs to do is do an actual Freako one and have a
Yeah.
ghoulie holding a fart classic or something. That would just
Oh, that'd be cool.
that'd be the greatest
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
ever.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, for me, easy 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
And is it your 5
Oh,
5 out of 5 as well?
this is our first perfect film in Celluloid Psychosis history. Of course, it took
Yeah,
us 30 episodes to get here, but you know what, folks? That's the way it happens sometimes.
yeah.
Next
So
week, we'll be back for our physical media
yeah,
roundup.
and there's been some good stuff as well in the last week.
Would you recommend this, Paul?
Highly recommend this. Even if you're not a Little Red Monster fan, check it out. Give it a go. I mean, for me, it's got me going through all his previous work. I'd seen Psycho Gorman before. I've got Psycho Gorman on Blu-ray, but I hadn't seen the likes of The Editor, which you told me about, which I also loved. I've got Manborg to watch as well. Yeah, their work is amazing.
Very much in the same vibe as this project. And it takes a approach where it takes homage from all these great films and shoves them together. Then the whole film plays out. Oh yeah, you know what I mean. It doesn't take itself very seriously, and it knows what it's doing. It's great. Both.
Yeah. So this movie, we haven't really mentioned the physical media. It is out on physical media.
Yeah.
Shout Factory in the US, which you've got.
Yep.
On your shelf there. They've released it already. So the film was done. I think Shout Factory and Raven Banner, they kind of went in on this film because their logos appear at the start. So I guess they probably partially financed the movie, I would guess. So yeah, it's out on Shout Factory in the US. Raven Banner have just released it in Canada as well. No UK release, sadly, but I've got, like I just mentioned before, I've got the Raven Banner release coming to me purely because the Raven Banner website will ship to Canada. Will ship to the UK, or they didn't originally. I don't know if you remember that when we first talked about this movie in the Physical Media Roundup months ago. I was disappointed because the Raven Banner wouldn't ship to the UK.
Yes.
Since then, they have changed it and they do now ship to the UK, and it's literally on its way to me as
I
we
think
speak.
Severn Films is the same way, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Mhm.
more than likely. Yeah. So yeah, it's on its way to me now. It's also streaming, but not in the UK, but it's streaming in America on all the usual platforms. But I would highly recommend them picking this up on Physical Media because it is cool. Both discs. Both the Raven Banner and the Shout Factory are stacked with extras as well. They got the same extras. I guess they've kind of shared them out between them. There is the extra CD soundtrack with the Raven Banner one, but I don't know what's on that yet. I don't know if it's the actual score or if it's the songs as well. So yeah, I highly recommend picking up this movie. Anybody who's listened to this.
And speaking of next episode, I actually did a deep dive recently into the recent. I think we talked about it. We're kind of finishing off the episode, but last episode we talked about the Friends box set, or not, or in a previous episode we talked about the Friends
the framing of it.
Yeah. I want to talk more because I have been informed that AI scrubbing has been involved.
Uh oh.
So we're gonna talk deep about that, and
they got 6 fingers now in some of the.
I don't know, but they all look like fucking wax figurines, and it's terrifying.
Nice.
And they might have possibly ruined the show with the new color grading. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a future discussion for next week. I'm excited to talk about that one amongst a plethora of other topics because Paul and I are going to bring the heat as usual. And if you're and if you want to listen to other podcasts such as this, head on over to www.projectlouder.net for other podcasts. And of course, we're on all the audio platforms, anywhere you consume audio only content, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all that stuff. We're there too. I'm TJ Bowser. That's Paul Ashford.
Shabadoo.
Shabadoo.
Oh.